I'm really good at saying no. No to group projects. No to birthday parties I didn't ask to be invited to. No to the last slice of cake even when my stomach was screaming yes. I turned no into an art form, a reflex, a religion. And for 17 years of my life, it worked perfectly. Then Haruto Sena transferred to my school. The first time he confessed, it was raining. Because of course it was. We were standing under the awning outside the gymnasium after last period, and the sky had cracked open like it had a personal vendetta against anyone without an umbrella. I had one. He didn't. He just stood there next to me, completely soaked, water dripping off the ends of his stupidly messy black hair, and said, "I like you, Aoi. Go out with me." Just like that. No build-up. No nervous stutter, like he was ordering a coffee. I looked at him. He looked at me. Rain hammered the concrete between us. "No," I said. He blinked. Then he laughed. Not a hurt laugh, not a bitter one. A real laugh, warm and startled, like I'd told him the funniest joke he'd heard all week. "Okay," he said. And then he walked straight into the rain. I watched him disappear around the corner of Building C, completely drenched, and thought, what is wrong with that guy? The second time was 3 weeks later. I was eating lunch alone on the rooftop, which is my favorite place in the entire school, because nobody ever comes up here. The wind is too strong. The door squeaks. The bench has a wobble that makes your juice box slide off if you're not careful. He sat down next to me like he'd been doing it for years. I didn't even hear the door. "I still like you," he said, stealing one of my tamagoyaki without asking. "Go out with me." "No, and that's my egg." "It was your egg. It's in my stomach now, legally mine." "That's not how the law works. Take me to court. We'd have to spend time together. I'd consider that a date." I turned away so he wouldn't see the corner of my mouth twitch. I pressed my lips together until my jaw hurt. "No," I said again, harder this time. He leaned back against the railing and looked at the sky like he had nowhere else to be. "Okay." He stayed for the rest of lunch, didn't say another word about it. Just sat there, eating half my food and humming some song I didn't recognize. When the bell rang, he stood up, brushed off his pants, and said, "Your tamagoyaki is incredible, by the way. Did you make it?" "My mom did." "Tell her she's a genius." And then he left, and the rooftop felt bigger without him, which made me furious, because it was my rooftop, and it had never felt too big before. The third time happened at the cultural festival. Our class was running a maid cafe, which I had voted against 7 times in the planning meeting, but democracy is a myth when Mika Tanaka controls the whiteboard. I was standing in the corner wearing a maid outfit I wanted to set on fire, holding a tray of omurice with hearts drawn on them in ketchup, questioning every decision that had led me to this moment. He walked in with 2 of his friends. He saw me and his entire face did something I still can't describe. His eyes went wide, his lips parted. Then his expression collapsed into the most devastating grin I've ever seen on a human being. "Don't," I said. "You look. Don't. Unbelievably. Haruto. Cute." My face caught fire. Not a gentle warmth, a full inferno. I could feel the heat behind my ears, at the back of my neck, crawling down my collarbones. One of his friends nudged him. The other one had his phone out. I wanted to die. He ordered 3 plates of omurice and sat at the table closest to my corner. He ate all 3. When I came to clear his plates, he looked up at me with ketchup on the corner of his mouth and said, "Go out with me, Aoi." "No." My voice cracked. Just barely. Just enough for him to hear it. His grin softened into something quieter. Something that made my chest do a thing I didn't give it permission to do. "Okay," he said. Same word, same gentle tone. Like rejection was just a weather report to him. Partly cloudy, chance of rain, nothing worth getting upset about. He left a 500 yen tip folded into a paper crane. I still have that crane. It's in my desk drawer under my math notebook. But that's not relevant. The 4th time was different. It was after midterms. I'd gotten the highest score in our year, and I should have been happy, but I was sitting on the steps behind the library, and I was crying, and I couldn't stop. My dad had called that morning. He called maybe once every 4 months, always from a different number, always with the same hollow voice that sounded like he was reading from a script. He said he was proud of me. He said he'd visit soon. He said all the words that used to mean something, before I learned that people can say anything, and mean absolutely nothing. So I was sitting on those steps, and my chest felt like someone had hollowed it out with a spoon. And the tears were the ugly kind. The kind that make your nose run and your breath hitch and your whole body shake. And I heard footsteps, and I knew it was him before he even rounded the corner. He stopped. I didn't look up. I couldn't. If I looked up and saw pity on his face, I would have shattered into pieces too small to sweep. He didn't say anything. He just sat down next to me. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of his shoulder near mine, but not quite touching. He set something down between us. A can of hot milk tea from the vending machine. The one on the third floor. The only one that sells the brand I like. He'd noticed which vending machine I use. He'd noticed which drink I buy. I cried harder. We sat there for 20 minutes, maybe 30, I don't know. Time doesn't work right when you're falling apart. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't tell me it would be okay. He just stayed. When my breathing finally steadied, when the hiccups slowed and my hands stopped shaking, he said very quietly, "Go out with me." And I said, "No," but the word came out like an apology. He nodded. "Okay." But this time, he didn't leave. He stayed until I stopped shaking. He stayed until I could stand up without my knees buckling. He walked me home and didn't say a single word the entire way. And when we reached my building, he said, "Good night, Aoi." And his voice was so gentle, I almost grabbed his sleeve. I almost said, "Wait." Almost. I went inside, closed the door, slid to the floor, and pressed my forehead against my knees. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my teeth. After that, he stopped confessing. 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. He still ate lunch on the rooftop sometimes. He still stole my tamagoyaki. He still walked 2 steps behind me in the hallways like a lazy, overgrown shadow. But he didn't say it. The words just vanished from his vocabulary, and I told myself this was what I wanted. This was the correct outcome. Rejection accepted. Boundary respected. Case closed. So why did I feel like someone had turned off a light I didn't know was on? I started noticing things I wished I didn't. The way he pushed his sleeves up when he was concentrating. The way he always turned his head toward me when someone said something funny, like my reaction was the only one that mattered. The way his laugh started in his eyes before it reached his mouth. The way he always walked on the street side of the sidewalk when we happened to leave school at the same time. I noticed, and it ruined me. Quietly, efficiently, like water wearing down a stone. His handwriting. I'd know it anywhere. It leaned to the right like it was always in a hurry. I told myself I wouldn't go. I went. He was sitting on my wobbling bench, looking out at the city. The sun was setting behind him, and the light caught the edges of his hair, and I hated how beautiful he looked. I hated that I noticed. I hated that my heart was already hammering before he even turned around. "You came," he said. "Don't read into it. I was already up here. You came from the stairs. I took a detour." He smiled. That quiet, infuriating smile that made my stomach flip. He stood up and faced me, and something about his expression was different. There was no grin, no teasing warmth, just something steady and open and terrifyingly honest. "I'm not going to confess again," he said. My chest clenched. "Good. But I need to tell you something, and then I'll leave you alone. For real this time." The wind picked up. My skirt fluttered. I crossed my arms over my chest like they could hold everything in. He took a breath. Then he looked at me, and I have never in my life felt so completely seen. "You say no because you're scared," he said. "Not of me. Of anyone staying. You've been left by someone who was supposed to love you no matter what, and it broke something in you. And now you test everyone. You push, and you push, and you wait for people to walk away, because at least then it happens on your terms." My vision blurred. "I know, because I've watched you do it to everyone. Your friends, your teachers, me. You keep the world at arm's length, and you call it strength. But Aoi, you're exhausted. I can see it." "Stop," I whispered. "I'm not going to confess again," he repeated. "But I need you to know that I didn't keep coming back because I thought you'd change your mind. I kept coming back because you deserve to know what it looks like when someone stays. Even when you tell them not to. Even when you make it hard. Even when you say no 4 times with your voice shaking." A tear slid down my cheek. Then another. "You don't have to love me back," he said. "But stop pretending you feel nothing. Because I've seen you smile when you think I'm not looking, and it's the most honest version of you I've ever met." The rooftop was dead silent. Just the wind, and my heartbeat, and the sound of every wall I'd ever built groaning under a weight they were never designed to hold. He turned to leave. My hand shot out and grabbed his sleeve. I didn't decide to do it. My body just moved, like it was tired of listening to my brain. "Haruto!" He stopped. He didn't turn around. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his breath hitched. Just barely. Just enough. Ask me again, I said. He turned around slowly. His eyes were red. Go out with me, Aoi. For the first time in my entire life, I couldn't say no. Yes. He stared at me. His lips trembled. Then he broke into the most ridiculous, lopsided, devastating grin, and he pulled me into a hug so tight I couldn't breathe. And I didn't care, because I had spent 17 years perfecting the art of pushing people away, and this stupid, stubborn, patient, beautiful boy had outlasted every single wall. Took you long enough, he mumbled into my hair. Shut up or I'll change my mind. No, you won't. He was right, and I hated it, and I loved it. The sun sank below the rooftops, and the sky turned the color of his stupid paper crane. And for the first time in a very long time, I stayed. I'm really bad at saying no, but only to him.